everybody. It's Wednesday night. It's Dream Whiskies. It's the 4th of March and it's 7 p.m. here in the UK. Good to see you. We got another evening of Dream Whiskies themed stuff for you. We got our winners from last week's competitions. We got another cocktail of the week for you. Obviously, we're going to be having a drink together as we normally do, plus a few other bits and pieces as well. And of course, don't forget that we also have our giveaway for tonight, our spot prize giveaway, our little competition, which you can enter, and you can enter live and just get your answers in based on what we talk about this evening. So remember, talk to me in the comments box and I will talk back to you. Say hi, let me know what you're drinking. This is what I got on the go tonight, everyone. So I got this bottle of Kilchoman. And this is the Saneg, which is quite a delicious whiskey, actually. I got it, somebody bought it for me. Actually, my daughter bought it for me over Christmas. Let's just get some of that into my glass. And before I taste some, I'm going to let you know what we got and what it tastes like. Who's with us? Hey, Carl, how are you doing? Good to see you. Barry, as ever, not here. I wish Barry would turn up one week, but hey, he's not here again. And Paul Slade, how are you doing? Good. So look, you know how it runs here. Get yourself a drink. Doesn't matter whether it's a whiskey or a cup of tea. I know some of you are not drinking, but that's cool. And let me know what you got. So let me tell you what this tastes like. This is the bottle. Here we go. Let me show you. So it's the Kilchoman, the Saneg. That's my pronunciation anyway. And this is actually quite a surprising whiskey. So it is fruity. Soft fruits, but really smoky on the nose, and a fair amount of peatiness on the palate as well. Let me have a taste. It's got a sort of soft, like when I say fruity, I don't mean things like strawberries and berries and that sort of fruity, or citrus fruits, but soft fruits like apricot, peach, I guess, that sort of thing. But it has I'm really struggling to find the words, but almost like a chocolatiness with no chocolate in there, but that sort of creaminess to it. And for me, quite a lot of peat, quite a lot of smoke. Who else is with us? Kevin, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Bruce, what's going on? You got a whiskey sour with that 1792. You showed me the picture of that. Maybe you want to post a picture of your whiskey sour. Let's see how it's going. Steve, how you doing? Richie, Bushmills for you tonight. Which one of the Bushmills are you on, Richie? Mark, how are you doing? Good. I'm really pleased to see you made it. Joe as well. Carl trying an Ardmore tonight. Another sort of smoky peaty one. Adrian, how are you doing? Barry sounds lovely. What, this? Yeah, I think so as well. Luca, always good to see you as well. Dave, how are you doing? Sorry, not Dave. David. Don't want to be over familiar. Back again with your Lefroy 10. Yeah, again, we're all going down that sort of smoky route. Paul as well, and Arbeg, we're all going peaty and smoky. Jane, how you doing? Right, listen, everyone, just so you know, Jane, who's in there, one of you guys, but she's also a friend of mine, she's going to be with me next week. So in our broadcast next week, I have my guest. I have a guest, our first guest, and it's Jane. And the interesting thing about Jane, or one of the interesting things about Jane, is that she's a small batch producer of different spirits and liqueurs. So I'm going to be taking one or two of her liqueurs next week, bringing them together with some whiskey to come up with some really cracking new cocktails for you. So Jane, thank you for being there, but you're going to be here next week. Neil, hello, newbie alert. Hey, Neil, you're welcome. All newbies are welcome here. Glen Scotia for Kevin as well. Steve, what you on? You're on a Lefroy 10. Barry's on coffee. Okay, I get it. Coffee's good. Mark, what's this? A Wolfburn. Is that what you said, a Wolfburn? Arbeg is on the go. David Rowe, another Isla. And Richie, just your basic supermarket buy. Listen, supermarkets. What is a basic supermarket buy? I don't even know. I mean, you can get some cracking whiskies in a supermarket. But hey, cheers to you all. Thanks for joining me. Like I say, we got a lot of stuff going on for you this evening. And I guess the first thing I'm going to do is going to announce the results of last week's whiskey competition and of course, also last week's spot prize. So as you probably know, we do a spot prize every broadcast, and we got one coming up in this broadcast. And then, of course, we have our week-long competition. So cheers. I'm really liking that. It's sort of growing on me. So let's have a look. Let's see who our winners are. So last week's whiskey competition, this is our main whiskey competition. Just so you know, the week before, our winner, Anthony, ended up choosing the Dalmore King Alexander III, a cracking whiskey. That's still on his way to him because we were waiting for it to come into us. So he's going to have that by the weekend. And as you know, if you win our whiskey competition, it's no longer a single whiskey that you win. You choose from our library, which you can see on our website. But let's see who won. So the competition that ended yesterday, that was our week 4 competition, midnight last night, UK time. We obviously have week 5 competition now on the go, so make sure you get yourself into that. Is Jeff Canis. Jeff, I don't know if you're watching. Every time we announce this, the people that are normally on are not here, but Jeff Canis, he's from Anaheim in California. He has won our whiskey competition week 4, and the winner of last week's spot prize giveaway, you might remember, it was a whiskey glass, it was a whiskey tumbler, like an old-fashioned glass, similar to this, but it was inscribed, and it said single measure, double measure, and then we will inscribe your name to say it's your measure. So if your name is John, then it will say John's measure on it. Well, the winner is not John, the winner is Kevin. It's Kevin McIntyre. Not entirely sure where Kevin is. We think maybe Manchester, but I might have that wrong. So we've got someone in California, someone in Manchester. You are our winners for last week, but we have our competition on the go for this week. So make sure you get in on that. And also we've got our spot prize giveaway coming up later on in this broadcast. So as ever, how does it work? Well, I'm going to be asking you some questions about our spot prize giveaway. You've got to come up with the answers and enter them on our website. And I'm going to give you some facts through our broadcast this evening. So we've got our cocktail of the week coming up in just a second. But what I'm going to do is today's theme for our facts, and this is what we're going to ask you the questions on at the end of the broadcast. I went for records. I went for whiskey records, like whiskey world records for this week. So I'm going to give you a number of world records, and you've got to keep it up here or write it down or whatever you want to do, because questions will come up at the end. But here we go. So first world record is this. The oldest whiskey, and this is not the oldest whiskey ever in history that was ever made, because we can argue about that until the cows come home, but the oldest commercial whiskey, in other words, a whiskey that was made that has a label on it and was sold. So the oldest commercial whiskey is Baker's Pure Rye Whiskey. Okay, this is an American whiskey, and it was distilled in 1847. 1847, let's just work that out. What is that, 173 years? 173 years old. Obviously, it's not 173 years in the barrel, but 173 years since it's been in the bottle. It's owned by a guy called Adam Hertz. From the USA, and that was verified as a record in 2018. So wow, 1847. You might want to write that down, because I'm sure we're going to have a question about that. Right, before I tell you my next fact, let's see who else is with us. Abalawa, says Neil. Neil, good. I like an Abalawa. I've been there as well. It's a fascinating distillery. Steve is saying I like, mainly like Isla whiskey. Smoky and peaty is the Kilchman worth a try. Absolutely. If you like smoky and peaty, but with a bit more flavor, so it's not just hit you in the eyes smoky. There's a lot of smoke, but it's definitely blended with that sort of soft fruit flavor as well. But I would definitely give it a go, Steve. Paul, what's that? Grats to the winners. Thank you very much. Always like to see that. Hi, Paul. I'm in, what's this? Vizbeck. Kevin, I don't know where that is. Oh, Kevin, you're our winner. Where is that? Wisbeck, it almost looks like it's somewhere. So are you saying you're in Cambridgeshire? But I'll be in touch with you. I'll be sending you an email so we can work out how to get your prize to you and all of that. But I'm really pleased that you're on. How cool is that? We've actually got a winner online at the time I announced it. Right, another fact for you before we go to the cocktail. So this is the biggest, it's the world record for the biggest whiskey collection. So I have a few whiskies here. You can see some of them behind me. We've got a number more than that, but nothing like this guy. So this guy's name is Alfredo Gonzalez. I'm pretty sure you pronounce it Gonzalez. He's from Lisbon in Portugal. At the time his record was set, he was 78 years old. This is some years ago now, and I've got a theory about this, but anyway, in a second. His collection is 10,500 whiskies without a single duplication. Every whiskey is a different bottle, different release, different set, everything. So 10,500 whiskies in his collection. So just to say, he used to have them in his office. Obviously, the collection got so big that he had to move it. So he opened what he called a whiskey shop. And of course, what happened in the whiskey shop, you couldn't come in and buy them, but you could come in and look at them. And so in a way, it was a bit like I guess, a museum for whiskey. Now, I don't know this because I tried to look it up. Right, I tried to look this up and I couldn't find it, but I have a feeling that Mr. Gonzalez might not be with us anymore. I got a feeling about that, and if you're still with us, I'm really sorry. I really apologize. I got my facts mixed up, but I have a feeling that his collection is now in Edinburgh. I think his collection was gifted. And I think you can find it at the Edinburgh Whiskey Experience. Now, I might have this completely wrong, so if you know I'm wrong, let me know, and I'm sorry about that. But either way, the figure you need to know for our quiz maybe later on is the fact that it's 10,500 bottles. Wow. So if you're looking at your own whiskey collection and you're seeing 20 or 30 or 40 whiskies, you are barely started. And I guess the same for me here. I'm barely started with whiskey. All right, loads more facts for you coming up. We got a cocktail for you. Let's just say a few more hellos before I move on to the cocktail. Richie, what's the oldest you have heard of in the barrel? Well, Richie, I think that's got to be the current Macallan 72. I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard of a whiskey that's older than that in the barrel. Let me know if you know anything different, but the current Macallan 72, pretty sure. Steve saying congrats, a well played Kev from Mark, and it said Whiz Beach, and yes, north of Cambridge. Okay, cool, here we go. Cocktail time for you. I got something a little bit different, and this is inspired by what is actually one of the most popular cocktails around today, and that's a Negroni. I don't know if you know what a Negroni is. It's a gin-based cocktail. It has Campari and sweet vermouth in it. It was big in the 60s and 70s. It was almost dead in the 80s and 90s. It sort of poked its head up in the noughties, and now it's back. It is one of the most popular cocktails in the world. Now, I've got a version that is inspired by this. So there's no gin in it. Obviously, it's a whiskey cocktail. But I've sort of played around with it a bit, and it's a bit of fun. So let's see how we go. First things first, everyone. I'm going to garnish my glass. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rim on it. Now, I'm sure you have seen glasses with sugar on the rim or salt on the rim, like a margarita, for example. I've come up with something different for you. And really, I've done this because I just want to show you that you can go anywhere with these sort of flavored or seasoned rims. So let me just break this up because I prepared this a bit earlier. Now, what I've got in here, really simply, is this. Can you see this? This, my friends, in Dream Whiskies Land, is a chocolate lime. This is what we call in the UK a sweet. It's what you call in the US a candy. So it is a lime flavored sweet with a little bit of chocolate in the inside. Now I've taken 4 or 5 of these. They're hard. And I pop them in my pestle, or rather my mortar, and I've got my pestle and I've broken them down. If you have a look in there, you can see, let's have a look, how's that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down a little bit further, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my garnish, really. I'm going to put it on the rim of the glass. So I'm just going to break that down. Sorry for making the noise, but I need to crush this down so it's easily adhered to the glass, I guess. Let's just break that down a bit more. I probably should have done more of this before we did the broadcast. I did it for a while, and I thought it was enough, but I'm now thinking it probably wasn't quite enough. Okay, let's break that down. Now, the other thing I'm going to add to this is a little bit of coconut as well. So I've got some desiccated coconut. I'm just going to drop a little bit in there. Here we go. and then I'm going to break that in with the lime and the chocolate. And this is all going to help me. It's going to help me break it down. It's going to help me create what I want to put on the rim of the glass. Here we go. Right. That's good. Now, next things, I'm going to take this plate because I need to get all of this into a position where I can put it on the rim of the glass. Can you see where I'm at? Here we go. So let's just shake that onto there. And you can see that it's sort of a powder, a dust now. I feel like I'm looking at the moon, but hey, let's have a look at that. So can you see in the camera there? So what we're going to do is, this is all now that chocolate, lime and coconut all ground up together. And I'm going to wet the rim of the glass with some alcohol and then dip it in so that all of that sticks around the outside. To do that, I'm going to take another plate. I mean, you can use whatever you want. In the bar, we have these sort of sponges that we sort of soak with lemon juice, and you can just press the glass into the sponge. But hey, I'm going to take some liqueur. And the liqueur is a liqueur that I'm going to use shortly in the glass, or rather in our cocktail. But let's just put it into there, like so. And then the idea is this. You take the glass, you dip it in here, and then you dip it into, in this case, my mixture, and it should stick. So let's just dip it in, like so. And then very quickly into there, like so again. And just sort of dipping it around. That's good. Give it a shake. And so now what I've got on the edge of the glass, as you can see, is this sort of chocolate, lime and coconut rim. And that is going to affect how you drink the drink. Because whatever I put in there, when you put it to your lips, you're going to have to drink it through this. So you'll get some of this sort of sweet candy, lime and chocolate and coconut flavor along with the cocktail. So our glass now is ready to receive the cocktail. Let me move these out the way. Let me just get these out the way from you, and let's put that in my sink down here. Let's start making the cocktail. Okay, here we go. Now there's a reason why I'm drinking this, which is the Kilterman, because that's what I'm going to use for that. I want some smoky, peaty isleyness in this cocktail. If you don't like the peat and you don't like the smoke, then don't worry about it. Pick a different whiskey. Pick something that you like. I'm just going to make sure I have some of this. And we're going to start with around about 30 ml of our whiskey. So let's get that in there first. That's good. Now, because this is inspired by the Negroni, I'm taking the two other Negroni ingredients, and that is Campari. So I'm assuming everybody watching knows what Campari is, but it's a bitter aperitif. Some people love it, some people hate it. You fall on one side of the fence or other, but even people who really don't like it on its own often like it in a Negroni. And I think if you don't like it on its own, you might find that you like it in this cocktail. So I've got around about 30 ml of our whiskey. Remember, it's a sort of smoky, peaty Islay whiskey. I'm going to put very similar in there. So depending on how you like it, either 30 to match or 25, because you don't want it quite as bitter. But trust me, go with the 30. The 30 will be better. Then I'm going to take some sweet vermouth. This is martini vermouth. So I guess you guys know martini, right? You know this. This is the one that most people know. This is the dry one. This is the one that we put into a martini cocktail in very small quantities, etc., etc. But this is the sweet one. So this is much fruitier, blends with what we're going on, and in particular blends with the bitterness of the Campari, so it brings more sweetness out of that. I'm going the same again. So you go 25 if you're feeling that you don't want too much, but push it a little bit to 30, and then we're just about right. Now, if this was a Negroni, we would have gone gin, Campari, sweet vermouth, done. But it's not a Negroni. This is our own cocktail. We're doing our own thing here, and I'm adding a bit more sweetness, and I want some fruit. And I'm taking you back to this. So this is what I use to put that rim on the glass, but this is Passoa. And Passoa is a liqueur. It's right bang in the middle, actually. You know, alcohol-wise, it's a liqueur. Some people say it's a fruit spirit, but it's not strong enough to be a spirit. So it's 17%, which is 34 proof. And this is flavored with passion fruit. And this gives me the sweetness that I want to just cut through this sort of bitter, fruity mixture. And also with the smoke in there, the sweetness goes absolutely beautiful. Now, I was about to use my cap to measure it, but really I don't need to. And you don't really need to use your cap. But this is around about 10 mil. So I put it in there for sweetness primarily, but also it adds some flavor. You know, you can use other liqueurs which have sweetness, but I like this because of the passion that goes through it. Now, we're going to add some ice. I'm going to leave that in there. I'm going to put the ice into my can. So let's just go down to my ice chest and do so. And I'm just going to stand in there for a second because I think this is probably a good moment just to pop in another fact. So let's see how this does. So I've given you 2 facts for our quiz later on. Here's another fact, and this one actually is my favorite. I'm guessing some of you know this, okay, but I'm just going to pop it out there anyway. This is the most valuable collection, the most valuable whiskey collection. So I just previously told you that there was a collection which was the largest that had 10,500 bottles in it. And you might be forgiven for thinking, well, that must be the most valuable collection. But actually, the most valuable collection actually only has 500 bottles in it. So what are we talking about? 21 times smaller than the biggest collection. But the bottles in it have the most incredible value, full of 50-year-old, 60-year-old whiskies, really rare Macallans, things like the Valeria Adami, that sort of thing. But the total value, and this is the figure that you probably want to remember, the total value of this 500 bottle collection is 13 million pounds. 13 million pounds. I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there who think in dollars. $16.7 million. Or if you want to think in euros, 15 million euros. We are talking about 500 bottles of whiskey worth nearly $17 million. So we are talking a most extraordinary amount. And who's it owned by? Well, it's owned by a guy. I'm going to really try to pronounce this name now. He's from Vietnam, specifically. He lives in Ho Chi Minh City. And this is his name. I think his name is pronounced Nguyen Dinh Thuan Viet. Nguyen Dinh Thuan Viet, the man who owns the most valuable whiskey collection on the planet, worth nearly $17 million, just over 13 million pounds. Right, that's another fact for you. Let's finish off this cocktail. So I've got my ice in my can, which hasn't melted at all while I've been talking to you. And now we take all of those 4 ingredients, add it to the ice and get ready to shake. Let's see who's talking to us. Okay, Steve, I'm going to get back to you in a second. Here we go. So we're giving it a shake. And we're good. Let's crack my shaker open. And I want to make sure that when I strain this in a way that does not hit the rim of the glass, because I want that to stay dry. I don't want it dripping off the rim of the glass and into the cocktail. So again, for the same reason, I'm going to bring it up to within, I guess, about 1 centimeter. If you've made it perfectly in terms of the measurements, it will stop 1 centimeter below. But if you put too much in, then make sure you stop it and don't pour it up all the way to the top. And there we have it. What's this called? I have no idea. As you know, I make up a lot of cocktails. Many of them go into my books. Many of them get produced in my videos and stuff like that. Making the cocktail is one thing. Actually coming up with a name, told you this a lot of times, very difficult. Got a name for me? Got an idea for this? So here it is. It's this sort of Negroni whiskey hybrid with this sort of strange sweet stroke candy rim on it. Let's see how it goes. A lot of flavors here. Interestingly, the coconut comes through on the rim really quickly. Campari obviously jumping out of the glass. The whiskey is sitting under it really nicely. The smokiness of that Isla whiskey that I'm looking at is really subtle now, because the fruit that I put in there, that's both the Passoa, excuse me, and the sweet vermouth is just balanced everything. It's really working beautifully. Okay, let's talk to a few of you for a second. Steve, you're saying, I think you're right, Paul. I went to Edinburgh Whiskey Experience. I recognize the name. Yeah, I think so. I think it is there. I just wasn't 100% sure. Kieran, how you doing? We've been chatting a bit today. I hope we sorted all those out. Kieran, good to see you. Lucy, if I want a collection, I better stop drinking my bottles. You know what, Lucy? I'm with you. You know, I do have a few whiskies that are in bottles that sit on the shelf, and I look at them and they sort of look pretty. But I'm about drinking whiskey mostly. So just keep drinking them, Lucy. Don't worry about the collection. Just enjoy the experience. Yes, right. That's it. Oh, David, what are you saying? It's the... Right, so David, are you saying the Diageo collection Edinburgh whiskey is not the same? Is that what you're saying? So I'm getting confused about that. Barry, congrats on the winner. I was having problems commenting when you announced. Thank you for that, Barry. What is the sweet again you use to garnish? Mark, that's it's a chocolate lime. I think that's what they're called. I don't know where you are, Mark. Are you in the UK? I think you said sweet, so you must be in the UK. It's a chocolate lime. But yeah, that's it. There's lots of people make them, but hey, Bob, good. You're late, but you're here. We're always good to see that. Ken, how you doing? Running late again as well, but I'm pleased you're here. Paul's already answered, Mark. So I'm just behind the game, right? Chocolate lime. Lubka, finally, I know how to make a rim. Okay. Actually, I tell you what, Lubka, you guys know me for Dream Whiskies, obviously, but actually I do a lot of work in the drinks industry, and I work with a lot of bartenders teaching them how to do their job. And actually that whole thing about how to put a really decent rim on a glass is something that loads of bartenders still don't know how to do. And I have to help them do that. So now you know how to do it. You've got like an edge on a lot of professional bartenders. Steve, love Passau, reminds me of my clubbing days with Red Bull. Okay. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Good to see you. Bruce, nice drink. No option to post your photos. Okay. Shame, but Whiskey Sour is in the one that said, oh, I'm pleased about that. So, okay, Bruce won some glasses from us a couple of weeks ago. He's using those right now. Made a slice of raspberry orange. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. I liking that. And some more congratulations. Tony saying red mist. Maybe call it a smoky fruit candy, says Paul. Well, I will consider all of those suggestions. Now, what else have we got going on here? So we have, obviously, our whiskey competition, or rather I should say our spot prize giveaway. And today is all about records. And I've given you a few facts. I've got a few more facts for you. I'm loving this stuff, actually. I was researching it today, and there's stuff that I knew that I was looking for, and there's other stuff that sort of popped up. So how about this? This one is the oldest operating Scotch whiskey distillery. Do you know which one it is? You think it's Macallan? Could it be Glenfiddich? Aberlour, maybe? You know what? It's none of those. So the oldest operating, this is the one that is still operating, Scotch whiskey distillery is the Strathisla distillery. Again, there might be a question on this, so you want to write it down. The Strathisla distillery, which was founded in 1786. Now, just to be clear, it hasn't always been called Strathisla. It's been there since 1786 in one form or another, but originally it was called the Milltown Distillery. It had, as most distilleries, it's had fires in its lifetime. I mean, and pretty much, if you ever go on a distillery tour, whichever distillery you go to, they're going to tell you there was a fire. Probably started in the grist, the mill, you know, when they're milling the grain and it all dry and spark comes along, before you know it, there's a fire. So half of these distilleries in Scotland at some point have had a fire, maybe more than half. But this one had a fire. It was rebuilt in 1876, pretty much the same as it is today. And it was around that time, in the 70s, 1870s-ish, that it was given the name Strathisla. So that's the oldest operating one, which I find pretty cool. And I've been there as well, along with my wife. We went there along with, I don't know, maybe another 20 or 30 distilleries that we saw. Tony's saying red smoky mist. Okay, I'm liking that as well. By the way, if you're not quite sure what these guys are talking about, they're talking about the cocktail that I just made. So, you know, I created the drink. I just couldn't come up with a name. So give us a name. Tell me what you're thinking about this. Let me try another bit. I will be fair on this. I think if you're not a a Campari lover, you're probably not going to love this. What I will say is if you sort of like a little bit of bitterness, what you could do is pull the Campari out and put in some Aperol. Because Aperol, I would describe as bitter, but nowhere near as powerful as Campari. And probably also a little bit sweeter as well. So if you want a softer version of this, have a go with the Aperol. I mean, for me, I wouldn't drink Campari straight or on the rocks, but absolutely in a Negroni and absolutely in this fabulous drink as well. Kieran, thanks. You've been sorting out good. I'm really pleased to hear that. David, the Scotch Whisky Experience displays an almighty array of bottles collated by Brazilian collector. Yeah, okay, so it's the Vidiz collection. So I'm getting that confused. So I now don't know whether my fact was right. We're going to stick with my fact. It looks like Alfredo Gonzalez has the largest ever collection, but having been to the Scotch Whisky Experience in Edinburgh, that is huge. So if you want to see an amazing collection of whiskies, either go to that one in Edinburgh, which is part of the whole Diageo thing, or you know, if you're in Portugal, go there and check that one out as well. Amazing. All right, what else have we got here? Largest bottle of whiskey ever. So what's the largest bottle? Actually, just hang on, right? I'm going to show you guys a large bottle of whiskey. I've got a bottle of Bell's here, which is pretty large. Just bear with me. Let me show you. It's going to take me a second. I know I'm out of picture, but now I'm back. Here we go. Check this out. This is the largest bottle of whiskey that I have. That's a beauty. How big do you think that is? I mean, bearing in mind that this is 700 ml, what do you think this one is? In litres. Any guesses? You want to have a guess? No one's talking to me. What we got? Bruce, name for the drink. I'll have another. Bruce, I'm loving that. That's a little play on the whole sort of Scottish accent as well. I'll have another. Bruce, I might well steal that from you, but thank you very much. Okay, so this is a 700 ml. I'll tell you what this is. This is a 4.5 mil. This is 4.5, not mil. What am I talking about? 4.5 litres. So 4,500. So 4.5 litres. You want to know the biggest bottle around? It was something that was produced by the Famous Grouse. I guess you all know Famous Grouse. It is 1.7 meters tall. In old money, for our American friends, that is 5 feet 7 inches tall, this bottle. And it holds 228 litres. That is the biggest bottle of whiskey ever. 228 litres. And if you look at that, at 4.5 litres, imagine what 228 litres looks like. Wow, we're talking about a lot of whiskey. Steve, you're saying 3. You weren't there. Lupka nailed it at 4.5. Paul was just over at 5. Donna's saying it's big. We don't use litres in the USA, so I have no idea what that means. Okay, litres, right. So litres into pints. So I think 1 litre is just under 2 pints. So I reckon 4.5 litres is around about 8 pints. That's for Donna. I think I'm pretty much there. I think 8 pints. Lupka, yes, you won. And Kieran, you were well short at 2.5 litres. But anyway, can you imagine 228 litres? That's what the Famous Grouse one that holds the record is. 5 feet 7. Wow, it's almost as tall as me. Not exactly, but almost. Okay, this is my favorite fact of the lot for tonight, and it's about the most expensive bottle of whiskey. And when we talk about the most expensive bottle of whiskey, I guess we're talking about what has somebody paid for a bottle of whiskey. So you probably know, if you know your whiskies, and if you don't, I'm about to tell you that the ones that seem to get the most money in sales, specifically I'm talking about auctions, are old Macallan whiskies. There's something about the Macallan brand which makes collectors want to pay extraordinary amounts of money for them, and makes people who don't like Macallan quite furious about the fact that other people will pay extraordinary amounts of money for them. So this is the record. This is the most expensive bottle of whiskey. Now there is a Macallan whiskey from 1926 called the Valeria Dami. Valeria Adami. And it has held various records at auction. One went for around about $800,000. Yeah, just hold on to your knickers there. One then beat that and went for $1.1 million. And that's because there were 24 of these 1926 releases. So they're 60-year-old. They were 1926 in the cask. They were 1986 in the bottle, so 60 years in the cask. But 12 of them had these labels that were designed by this artist, Valeria Adami. And they just get extraordinary amounts of money. But the world record holder is another 1926 60-year-old bottle. But this didn't go into one of the special labels. This was just a Macallan Fine and Rare 60-year-old 1926. It became the most expensive bottle of wine or spirit of any kind ever auctioned. And this was $1.9 million. This is nearly $2 million for this. $1.9 million. Damn, who's going to buy a bottle of whiskey for $1.9 million? And my question to you, ladies and gentlemen, is if you actually bought a bottle of whiskey for $1.9 million, what would you do with it? Who would drink it? Who would actually say, I'm going to drink this baby? Or do you just put it in a safe and think that's $1.9 million sitting in that safe? Now, I like to think that I would drink it. But, you know, I'm already keeping whiskey here, which is a fraction of that is still special. I'm thinking, I need to keep it. I need to keep it. But, hey, would I? I don't know. I don't know. What would you do? Tell me what you would do. What else have we got here? Steve is saying that should be a prize. You talking about this? You talking about this should be a prize? Or are you talking about the $1.9 million thing should be a prize? I tell you what, we'll give away a $1.9 million whiskey when we have a few more VIP members. That's how that's going to work. Donna, thanks. Okay, that's good. I'm glad we worked that one out. Bruce is another congratulations. Luca, no prize for me tonight. No, I'm sorry, Luca. No prize for answering that one. But you got an opportunity to win a prize in our spot prize giveaway shortly. And of course, you know, we got our week 5 whiskey competition on the go right now. So make sure you get in that. Tony, America's still on imperial weights and measures. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of bizarre that. How do you feel about that in America? Do you feel like you want to go metric, or are you sort of happy with the old imperial stuff? Barry, I've got a delay here and sound is late and stuttering. Barry, what can I say to you? I'm really sorry. Maybe you need to shut me down and restart me or something. I'm really sorry about that. Paul, I don't buy whiskey to keep. A man after my own heart. But Paul, would you keep the whiskey if you just spent $2 million on it? I guess that's my question. Kieran would keep it. I think, Kieran, you're the same as most people. I say most people who would spend $2 million. I mean, I guess you've got to be worth, what, 500 million before you're going to actually buy a bottle of whiskey for 2 million? I don't know how that works. Carl, should be drunk and enjoyed. You know what, Carl? I think there were 26 of those 1926 bottles. From what I read, there were, actually, no, that's not right. I think this world record holder came from a cask where there were 40. The Valeria Adami, I think, came from a cask where there were 26. So do you think they've ever been drunk? I'm going to guess they've never been drunk. I guess every single one of those is sitting on a shelf in a collector's place, or maybe in a safe, or I don't know. But I like to think I would have the guts to actually drink it, but I'm just not sure if I would. Steve, that bad boy, yeah. Okay, I'll think about that, Steve. I'll think about whether we give that away as a prize. All right, a couple more facts, and then we're going to get into tonight's VIP giveaway. Let's see what we got here. iPad keeps locking up. All right. By the way, I know a few of you told me what you had on the go tonight, but what else are you drinking with me? Let me know. Okay, so fact number 7. This is the last of our facts. And I sort of like this. And the reason why I like this is because it rings, I don't know, it resonates with me because of a personal story. So this is the record for the most varieties of whiskey commercially available in a bar. So a bar where you walk into and they have a selection of whiskies. Now, my local bar here, not bad for a bar, I guess, has got maybe a dozen whiskies, which is sort of quite good for a local bar. I know a number of whiskey specialist bars, which have 100, 200. When I turned, how old was I? Crikey, I can't remember. But anyway, many years ago, one of my birthdays, my wife sort of surprised me by taking me away to the Isle of Wight, which is a tiny little island just a little bit south of the south coast in the UK. That's for those of you that live in the US, by the way. So it's just off the UK. It's part of the UK, but it's just off the UK. But only by a tiny, tiny bit. And she took me there to the Isle of Wight because there was a very famous bar there called the White Mouse. White as in not W-H-I-T-E, but White as in W-I-G-H-T, i.e. the Isle of Wight. And this pub was world famous, actually, for having 365 different whiskies. In other words, they had one to represent every single day of the calendar year. And we went there as a surprise for me because my wife knew that I love whiskey and this would be a great place to spend my birthday. And when we got there, and it wasn't just my wife and I, but it was also my father-in-law and mother-in-law, it turned out that that pub, after years of being there, had been sold to a different owner, and the different owner had decided that they were going to get rid of all the whiskey. So when we got there, they had 2 whiskeys, and it was just a regular bar. So they had a Glenfiddich and I think a Famous Grouse, that was it. So really big disappointment. Having said that, it did motivate me to try and sort of create my own collection of 365 different whiskies. And whilst my collection numbers have gone up and down over the years, it's never quite got to 365. But hey, so that's why this record resonates with me. And it resonates with me because the bar with the most whiskies available for sale is in San Diego, California. And this was ratified on the 15th of January, 2019. So this was just over a year ago this was ratified. It's a place called the Whiskey House. If you're from California, in particular, if you're from this particular area, I'm not sure where it is in San Diego, go to the Whiskey House because you will find 2,467 different whiskies on the shelf. 2,467. Wow. I mean, honestly, you could go there every week for your whole life, I think, and drink a different whiskey. They range in price for, start at $7 a shot and go up to $1,100 a shot. So, wow, I'm guessing they got some rare 50 and 60-year-olds in there as well. So, where are we? We're at the end of our broadcast, which means that we are at the point where we're going to do our VIP giveaway. Our prize for this evening is what? So, last week's prize was the glass. I've already told you that Kevin won it. Kevin's still with us, I think. This week's prize, who's talking to us, by the way? Okay. This week's prize is this, and this is a cracking book. This is by a guy called Charles Maclean. If you are a whiskey fan in the UK, you will know this guy's name, Charles Maclean. If you're not from the UK, you might not know his name, but he is he's one of a small group of whiskey gods. You know, if you want to know about whiskey, talk to him. If you want to impress somebody about whiskey, don't talk to him, because whatever you tell him, he will already know and 100 times more. But his books are incredible. This is called Malt Whisky, the complete guide. I've got a copy myself. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And this is what we're giving away as our spot prize this evening. So what we have is a few questions coming up, which you don't answer here. You answer on our website. And I'll explain how you do that in a second. But before I get into this, just let's talk back to you, and then I'll give you my questions. So Steve, if you can afford it, then drink it. Nice quote. I like that. Steve, that should actually be on a t-shirt somewhere. If you can afford it, then drink it. Loving that. David Rose, I don't have a collection, I keep an inventory. Just added the Ardbeg Black. Did you? Because there's been a lot of chat on today, David, about people all over the world, because some people can get it and some people just can't. I think in Australia, people have had a nightmare trying to get it, but you're going to make a lot of people jealous about that one. Paul Slade, shame to just leave it on the shelf. I agree. I just don't know if I'd have the guts if it was on my shelf. Steve agrees with you as well, and I'd buy something much cheaper than that. hey, maybe that's the deal. If you got $1.9 million, then why don't you just buy yourself a nice little cheap 1,000 pound bottle of whiskey, which would be extraordinary, and then use the $1.9 million to do something else. Maybe, hey, listen, we can all we can all fantasize. If you are actually out there and you are wealthy enough that you could afford to buy a $1.9 million bottle of whiskey, I guess me and the rest of the Dream Whiskies community would love to know what your thought is. If you actually have that money, would you do it? Let us know. Let us know. Okay, here we go. You might want to write these down, but you know you can always come back to those. You can replay this video. That's fine. Question number one. Question number one. So this is based on all of our facts. Question number one is, what year was the oldest commercial whiskey distilled? So this is the oldest available bottle of commercial whiskey. Just to give you a clue, and I told you what it was called, but I'll tell you again, it was Baker's Pure Rye Whiskey. So what year was that distilled? I told you what it was, the answer's in the video, but maybe you wrote it down. Question two, how many bottles are there in the largest whiskey collection? So I got confused about this. I told you who it belonged to. I thought it was the Edinburgh Whiskey Experience collection, but now I got it confused. But nevertheless, we've been talking about it a lot, but I gave you the number. So how many bottles in the largest whiskey collection? That's question number two. Question number three, the largest bottle of whiskey. Here, I know that someone's saying they want this as a prize. This is not the largest bottle of whiskey. This is my largest bottle of whiskey. But the largest bottle of whiskey is infinitely almost bigger than that. How big is it in liters? How big is that? And finally, question number four. What did the world's most expensive bottle of whiskey sell for? We just finished talking about that. You know what the answers are. Go and enter the competition. Now, just so that you're clear, up until about a month or so ago, before we changed into VIP, you would send me an email. Don't send me an email anymore. Just go to our website and the link is in the description. Go to dreamwhiskies.com/spotprize. Click on that and you can enter your answers. There's a form there. The questions are there. The answers is multiple choice. Just pick the ones that you want, the ones that you think are the correct answer, and you can enter. Now, you know how it works. And if you don't know how it works by now, listen, I'm just going to say it again real quickly. We are a VIP member site only now, which means if you want to play our games, you've got to be a member. There is a cost to it, but not for the first month. So if you are a member, great, thank you. I'm delighted. You've got great chances of winning both in these competitions and our whiskey competitions. If you're not, get over there. Try us out. It's absolutely free for the first month, which gives you 4 whiskey competitions to enter, 4 of these spot prize competitions. If you haven't entered yet, click the link. If you are not a member, it will give you the opportunity to sign up as a VIP and then put your answers in. And if you don't want to enter this, but you just want to become a VIP member, that's the link below. But hey, just click one of them, get in. So quickly, here are the questions. What year was the oldest commercial bottle of whiskey distilled? 2. How many bottles in the largest whiskey collection? 3. The largest bottle of whiskey was how big? 4. What did the world's most expensive bottle of whiskey sell for? That's it. Get yourself over to the website. Get yourself in. I'll be announcing more whiskey winners this time next week. We have a new whiskey winner. We have a new spot prize winner. And next week, Jane will be joining us. So Jane, that I told you about, one of you guys that are up there on my comments, but she's a friend. She's coming over. She's going to bring some of her own small batch liqueurs, and we're going to be using those to make some great whiskey cocktails. A great one coming up for you next week. But in the meantime, have a great week. Enjoy your whiskey, and I will see you then.